Hi, I'm Renarta Clanton Moyd. I'm a communications specialist with the Cumberland County Schools and your host of Get Connected. During this monthly show, we highlight numerous educational topics that face today's student, educator, and parent in the Cumberland County Schools. Now, in the wake of multiple shooting incidents across the country, many people have become much more concerned about their personal safety, whether they're shopping in a mall or sitting in a movie theater. In the aftermath of the Newtown, Connecticut elementary school shooting, school systems and college campuses across the U.S. have heightened their security measures to ensure the safety of their students and staff. The Cumberland County school system is no exception. After this break, we'll talk to two safety and security administrators from the school system about what's being done to keep our students and staff safe while at school on this edition of Get Connected.
In 4 out of 5 school shootings, the attacker tells someone about it first. Call 1-866-SPEAK-UP to anonymously report a weapon threat at school.
Again, thanks for joining us for this edition of Get Connected, where we're talking with Tim Kinlaw, the Associate Superintendent of Auxiliary Services, and Bruce Morrison, who is the Director of Safety and Security in the schools. Tim, Bruce, welcome.
Thank you for having us. Thank you, Renata.
You know, this is a treat because I don't get you guys on this show very often.
Well, we try to make sure the slots are open for other personnel.
Y'all are the undercover dudes. Okay, but I'm glad you all are on here with us today to talk about such a serious topic, you know, that affects a lot of our young people here in the community as well as our educators. Just want to start with this one question. Share with us your feelings about how you think the incident that happened at Sandy Hook Elementary School there in Newtown, Connecticut, how that affected the Cumberland County Schools.
Well, my first thought when it happened was the world is really changing.
Yeah.
This incident not only will have a local effect, but a national effect, and will cause a lot of debate on gun control. Also, a lot of debate on mental health support within the nation. Locally, though, it's really had an impact on us. It's had an impact on our parents, on our staff, and all the support staff, because we strive to make sure our schools are as safe as possible, and we take it very seriously. Even though the incident happened in Connecticut, we're taking the approach that it could have been much closer. As you know, we had an incident in a high school last year, right, which caused us to really look at our plans and our procedures, and now we're really taking a second look, especially how we manage security and assure safety in our elementary schools, because our elementary schools, we always thought
we're safe.
Was safe environment.
Exactly.
Our incidents, would occur in our middle or high schools. So again, we're really taking it seriously, and we're looking at everything we're doing and looking now to make sure we can make our schools as safe as financially feasible.
Now, did you all find that you received quite a few phone calls from concerned parents, concerned community members after that particular incident in Connecticut?
We've had numerous calls from concerned citizens, from parents, from especially a lot of our staff members. They're wanting to know what they need to do. They want to make sure that they're properly trained. Parents want to be assured that we do have plans in place, and not only will there be changes in how we're assuring our schools are safe, but we're just reviewing all our procedures.
Now, when you tell me, Tim, about reviewing your procedures, at this point, what security concerns, what things are in place right now as it stands as far as safety in our schools?
We've actually got several things. We have school resource officers in our schools.
Now, okay, now we know what school resource officers are, but you explain to our viewers what are school resource officers?
School resource officers are deputy sheriffs with the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office. They've been through training to be a school resource officer in addition to their basic law enforcement training. They're in the school. They act as like a law enforcement mentor. They're for lack of a better word, they're a contact in the school that students can look to sort of see that cops aren't bad people, you know, that kind of thing. But they're also there to help us provide security in the schools. They're there to assist the principals should they have, you know, an emergency at the school. And they're there just to sort of be a presence to make sure that, you know, people see that we have somebody there in place, that anybody that would think about trying to come up and cause a problem, we have somebody there that would sort of divert them and make them go somewhere else.
And you know what's kind of surprised me is after the incident there in Connecticut, just listening, it sounds like a lot of schools across the nation don't necessarily have that resource in their schools. But it seems to me like we were forward thinking to already have that in place.
That's correct. We actually, as far as for preparedness, we are probably in the front of most schools, especially in North Carolina. We have school resource officers. We have a lot of other programs that we put in place to help prepare our schools, to help prepare our staff for emergencies, and we do training all the time. We have drills and several other things we do that we do just to make sure our folks know that in the case of emergency, they know how to react and know what to do.
That's good. And you know what, I was so very fortunate to be able to participate in a tabletop activity that your department, you all sponsored a couple of months ago. I felt so very blessed to be able to be there and be in the throes of that particular exercise. Talk to everyone about what you all did and what was accomplished during that tabletop and what a tabletop exercise is.
Well, the tabletop, we brought in a consulting company that expertise are school safety, and we came up with a scenario. We brought all our principals together and we wrote out a situation that possibly could occur in one of our schools. And as we went through the scenario where an intruder comes on campus, we're discussing with our principals, now what is the first step? If somebody's been identified on your campus, what's the first step the staff should do? And we went through this whole scenario of somebody coming onto the campus, coming into the school, and it's an exercise to make sure that our staff members understand the total scene, what's going on. We had representatives from the emergency services office there. We had law enforcement officers there. And we wanted our staff to see not just what is going on in the school and how they should be responding. We wanted to make sure they had a clear understanding of the efforts that would be underway once there is an emergency. Exactly what is the role of emergency services? What is the role of the fire department? What is the role of the sheriff and the police department and other supporting agencies? So they had an understanding, though, that if they're in a crisis situation, they have a basic understanding of what is being done to support them and to help relieve the situation. Also, during that scenario, we kind of threw curveballs at them.
Right, I remember that, yeah.
You know, what are you going to do if, for example, your power system has gone off? How do you alert your students? How do you alert your other staff members? How are parents going to be notified? What procedures are in place to evacuate, for example? What support staff from the central office would be coming to assist with everything from media coordination to evacuation to transportation services, bringing in buses if needed. So we wanted to make sure they understood the complexity of an issue,
Right.
But also that once the incident takes place, and then there's always after the incidents take place, again, how are we communicating to the public? How are we communicating to the students? What services are we bringing in to support our crisis management team, for example, to assist parents and students dealing with emergencies? What other support agencies would we need to bring in to support that? So it's just instead of listening to somebody walk you through an exercise, it's making the principals participate in exercise. And we actually did this 3 months prior to the incident in Connecticut, which was a similar circumstance. So
exactly.
Our principals really had an appreciation for the training they had received, and they took what they learned back to the schools, to the teachers and to the staff. Last month we went back through the exercise, kind of the aftermath. We received their comments. We looked at the evaluation of how the principals performed in the crisis from our consulting firm, and looked at the recommendations, or we are looking at the recommendations they have made, and also recommendations our staff have made based on that. And it's made us go back and look at our procedures and look at other measures we need to take to make sure our staff are prepared.
And that's good. I think that sitting there, everyone in the room, because I know we were broken out into 2 different sessions. You know, elementary schools were one place, and then the secondary, middle, or high schools were another place. But I think everyone sitting there in that particular exercise kind of thought or would think to themselves, okay, what do whether you verbally participated or not, you kind of thought, okay, what would I be doing? How would I handle this? And I guess it really helps to come up with that worst case scenario, because you really have to be quick and use common sense and think on your feet in order to make sure that people are safe and the situation is not heightened. Okay.
Exactly.
All right, now let me ask you this. Have we changed or modified any of our security measures since the Connecticut incident?
We've done a few things. We're actually looking at our buildings to see where we can enhance our security. We'll probably have some changes which will be more restrictive as to who can come in our buildings. For the most part, we had pretty good things in place, but there's always room for improvement. So at this point, that's what we're looking at to see where we can improve. Probably part of it's going to be where we're going to restrict access. So it's going to be a little bit harder to get into our buildings, and it's you have to go through the front office and you have to speak to those folks. But that's some of the things we have in plan and some of the things that we're actually starting to initialize as we speak.
That's good. And it's so great, what you were mentioning earlier, Tim, about the fact that we work with outside agencies. I see there's a clear partnership, between the Cumberland County Schools and emergency management, the Cumberland County Schools and the Sheriff's Department, and the city police and those types of things. So that relationship is great. Now, I know we have a standing relationship with the Sheriff's Department. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Actually, our office is probably unique to most other safety and security offices in North Carolina. In my office, I'm still a certified deputy with the Sheriff's Office. One of my staff he's a deputy with the Sheriff's Office. Another person I have is retired from the Sheriff's Office. So we work really close with those guys. Actually, 2 of us are instructors as well, so we teach law enforcement academy training classes. So we work really close with them that way. In another place, we have daily interactions with the police department, the Sheriff's Office, Hope Mill, Spring Lake, Federal Police. We work really close with emergency management, fire marshal's office, basically all emergency services. And that sort of goes back to our relationship with the Sheriff's Office, and as much as we worked with them in the past there, that it's just, it even enhances what we can do here now because we have that relationship. Being that we instruct new officers, we see them from the time that they first come into law enforcement, so we can sort of let them know who we are, what we do, so they're not seeing us from the outside.
Right.
The other part of that is, since we know most of those guys, and we work with them so frequently, and us being as well still sworn law enforcement officers, then we can get in there and do the same things they do. So they
That's
see
good.
us as, not so much as just a school system, but as a fellow law enforcement officer.
That's good. That's a very special relationship. That's smart move. Smart move. Well, you know what we're going to do is take a break, okay? All right, gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. Hang around for more Get Connected.
In case of an emergency, if I'm at work, I would call my wife right away. Well, unless, of course, there's no cell service, and, then I...
If our cell phones didn't work and the land phone didn't work, the landlines were down, and that's a good question. What do you do?
I'm a single mother of 2 kids. I work a lot. We do miss a lot. He dropped off for a whole month. Sometimes I would talk to him and he wouldn't even turn around and look at me. I just get frustrated because in any way that I talk to him, it just doesn't go through his head. I didn't give up because there's always hope.
Give your teen the boost they need to graduate. Call 1-877-4A-KID or join us at boostup.org for tips and advice.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Get Connected. Our guests are Tim Kinlaw, the Associate Superintendent of Auxiliary Services, and Bruce Morrison, who is the Director of Safety and Security in the Cumberland County Schools. And we're talking about what's being done to keep our students and employees safe while on school campuses across the county. Now, Bruce, before we went to the break, we were talking about our SROs, school resource officers. How many do we have in our school system?
We have 40.
40, okay. And they're between each of our schools, or how does that work?
Actually, we have 1 in each high school, we have 1 in each middle school, and we have 4 for the elementary schools. In addition to those, we also have some supervisors for the SROs, and they float in and fill in when we have, people that are out sick or something like that nature, or somebody that's out for training. And they also go and back up the other officers when we need them, at certain schools. And they're an additional resource we have that in case we need an additional person, or we have to take somebody home for something or something like that, we have additional officers for that.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Now, who covers the costs of the SROs?
Really, it's a combination of state, local, and board funding.
Okay.
Right now, the state provides about $400,000 in funding for SROs in our high schools. Locally, for our middle schools, that's actually funded 50 jointly, or 50-50, with the school board funding half of that and Cumberland County funding half of that. The 4 SRO officers we have in our elementary schools are funded by the Board of Education. So it's really a three-sort. We're spending about $2.1 million a year for these officers.
Now, one might wonder, or question, are we going to increase that number, or are we doing pretty good with that number of SROs? Or
we're actually have a study underway right now. We've met with the Sheriff's Department, met with Sheriff Butler, and we're looking at different scenarios on how we could increase the number of officers specifically for our elementary schools. Presently, again, we only have 4 officers. So we're looking to increase that, but of course we're looking at what are the funding requirements for that. A big issue is the manpower availability of certified law enforcement officers. So that's ongoing. We're having those discussions with the Board of Education. We'll be having some discussions with the county shortly, and really coming up with a plan of how we can provide additional resources. Now, also, hopefully there is discussion coming out of the governor's office in regards to SRO needs. And of course, President Obama has announced that there would be some federal grant funds for additional officers. So we're just waiting for that information. Once we receive that, certainly we would be applying as a school system for any funds that would become available from the federal government to increase the number of officers we have.
That's great. That is great. Now we also have the Safe School Coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
What is a Safe School Coordinator? It's not the same as an SRO, correct?
No, they're basically like the SRO civilian counterpart. They work for the school system.
Mm-hmm.
They are supposed to be there to, again, help the principal should they need additional, assistance with things. They are sort of like the eyes and ears for the principal to be around the school. They are there to be a role model. They're there to be a person that the students can talk to if they have, a situation going on in their life that they just need to speak to someone. They're there to help intervene when they have a crisis in the school, and we train them to make sure that they can handle different crises should they happen in the school, if they have to go to lockdown, or if there's an earthquake, or if there's a tornado, or if there's a medical situation.
Okay.
We also have them, all of the Safe School Coordinators, we send them through CPR and AED training so that they'll have not only the security side of it, but they'll have somewhat too for the safety side to help out should there be a medical condition or a medical need that they could step in and assist the school with.
So now a student, because they're moving around there in the student population, then students tend to probably befriend this Safe School Coordinator.
Exactly.
And if a child hears that Johnny has a gun in his locker or whatever, I'm sure that relationship, the child would probably come and tell the Safe School Coordinator. Right,
and they do that all the time, and that's partially what they're there for, is to be the person there at the school, another contact person at the school that they don't see as the principal,
right?
But they are a person of authority that they can go speak with and let them know when they think something's going on, or they have a situation in their life that they just need to speak to someone, and again to just be a positive role model there in the school.
Now, something else as we're talking about that comes to my mind is the Speak Up line that we have here in Cumberland County, where students can, and you know what, I'm not going to steal your thunder. You go on and answer and tell everyone. Tim is like, thank you.
It's a short answer. Speak Up is a nationally used system that provides a non-invasive way that students, parents, or anybody really can provide information anonymously in regards to any rumors or any facts they may know that lead to believe that somebody has plans to harm someone in the school. When they make the call, they will talk to a person, not a machine. And also, this service provides, if this person actually needed some counseling, it gets them
to the proper place.
To the proper place. But again, it's a way of us knowing of a possible incident, which when we receive those calls, then Bruce and his department, if needed, would contact the sheriff's department or whatever law enforcement officer is needed to investigate, to make sure that if there is something there possibly, that it is again properly investigated, to make sure we don't have an event that we were made aware of but didn't take action on.
That's good. And I like the fact that it's anonymous.
It is.
So, if you know of anything, call. Do you know the number right off the top of your head?
It's 1-800-SPEAK-UP. And it's actually, the other part of it is you can also text to that company. The Speak Up counselors will actually, when the person sends a text to Speak Up, they'll respond back to that text and ask them what's the emergency. Is there a threat against someone? Have they seen a weapon? Anything they can think of like that. And they have actually a format of questions they ask to find out what's going on. And then as soon as they finish with that, they forward a copy of that text to me, as well as to the sheriff's office.
Now, have you all found that our students or our community members are using the line at all? Good.
Yeah.
And so it's helping to avert a lot of situations, correct?
Well, it gives us the opportunity to investigate those situations. I don't think we've ever had, we've certainly investigated many incidents. Most of the time they're rumor, or there's actually no facts behind those, and it's most of the time it's a false report. But at the same time, it is an opportunity to give us an opportunity to investigate and make sure that we are aware of any situation that may occur.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. What are some other things that we're doing in order to prepare ourselves? Because we know about, incidents of shootings and those types of things, but what are some other things we're doing to prepare ourselves as far as natural disasters, intruders, fire drills, da-da-da-da? What are some other things we're doing?
We actually have drills every year. Yearly we have a tornado drill. Of course, there's fire drills are monthly. We've had earthquake drills. We do lockdown drills in case of an intruder. We've had, like Mr. Kinlaw was saying, we've done tabletop exercises. We actually have a crisis management handbook that details several different crises or emergencies that could happen. So there's a readily available resource for the principal or the other staff of the school to look to see what they should do. We've made a crisis management flip chart that has listed in it what type of emergencies may be most run into, whether it be a hostile person on the campus or either a medical emergency or something like that. And that way that there's something not only in the office but also in the classroom that a teacher can refer to. We have a rapid responder program where we've gone around and mapped all of our schools digitally. We've got our crisis plans on that. Anywhere the principal has access to the internet, they have access to that program. We've got photographs of the school outside, inside, where all of our emergency locations are located. Basically any kind of information that an emergency responder might need, they have access to that. We've done training classes for our 911 dispatchers on it, the fire service personnel, emergency management, as well as our school staff.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So we are covered, it seems.
We've done a lot.
Yeah.
We've had this program in place for almost 10 years. We were actually the second system in the nation to implement the rapid responders system. And again, it's a simple data bank, but it's available especially to law enforcement. They have this information. Emergency services has this information. So in a crisis, they can immediately pull up the information that we have so they can respond to our incidents.
And kind of know what they're walking into and how to
Mm-hmm.
prepare.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That is great. Now let me ask you this. In all of our discussion, we go back to that adage, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a community to keep our schools safe. What are some of the things that our community, our parents can do to help with the whole issue?
I think that the biggest thing our parents can do is monitor their children. That if they hear of a rumor, if they see something suspicious in their child's book bag or the hearsay, most incidents that occur, you always hear that somebody had heard about it but didn't tell anybody, or a group of students had that rumor but didn't convey it to somebody in authority. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing parents can do is talk to their children, make sure their children feel safe, and if their children don't feel safe, they need to contact school administration and make the school aware of what the children's concerns are.
Okay.
Especially today, our principals and our support staff, our teachers, they're eager to receive information so they can have it investigated.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? I'm looking at the clock on the wall, and I see that our time is up. Okay. So Tim, Bruce, thank you all so very much. And you know what? We'll have to have you back. Okay.
Sure.
All right. He said that grimly. All right. Well, on behalf of the Cumberland County School System, we want to thank you for tuning in to this edition of our show and for giving us a chance to help you get connected. Until next time.